So hey guys, today we have Ramoji and he is having 3.2 year of experience in Java, Spring Boot and microservices domain. So those who want to give same free mock interview, please fill out the form below in the description. So now let's get started. Hey, hello Ramoji, how are you?
Yeah, hi, I'm good. Hope you're doing good. Yes.
Yes, yes. Shall we start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Can you please introduce yourself and your recent project in brief?
So basically, I'm Ramaji and I have total of 3.2 years experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been working for a banking domain for the last 2 years. So over these 2 years, I've been working on the two different projects.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to my role, I would be developing RESTful APIs and
Mm-hmm.
making some conditioning some changes to data
Mm-hmm.
based on the user input, which
So
would
are
be
you
the
using
complex.
indexing and all?
Yeah, by default, we do have this indexing pattern well
Okay.
at the time of creating these tables.
Okay, okay. And what's the Java version you are familiar with?
Java, as per the project, we use Java 11, but
Okay.
we are using Java 8 features mostly.
Okay, okay. So do you know about class loader in Java?
Yes, so basically,
Yes.
class loader used to load the files into the memory. So
Uh-huh.
basically, so main memory, yeah. So basically, when we start the program, these files will be loaded into memory, yeah. So
Okay, okay. So do you know what are the different types of class loaders available in Java?
Uh, yes, I think Bootstrap Loader is one. Then
Okay.
not sure about the other two, but yes. So Bootstrap is the primary. Sorry, the
Bootstrap,
child. Then
extension, class
yeah.
loader,
Extension
system
and the
class
other
loader.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. Correct,
yes.
correct. Can you please discuss the inner working of Java memory model and how it relates to garbage collection?
Yes. So basically, whenever we want to store any data, we
Mm-hmm.
basically Java works on the based on the concept of objects, right? So these
Okay.
objects basically get stored in heap memory, and
Mm-hmm.
garbage collection is the process of removing these objects if they are not being used as
Mm-hmm.
part of the program. So we can identify them. That's maybe garbage collector used to find them if they are not
Mm-hmm.
referenced to any of the objects, or if the reference is pointing to a null. Yeah, so garbage collection would run in the background and checks if any of these objects are not being used
Mm-hmm.
or not. So that is how garbage collection is used to clean up the memory.
What's the difference between overloading and overriding?
Yeah, so basically these two we can say as a part of polymorphism, exhibiting more than one form. Overloading, I would say, a method
Mm-hmm.
having the same name with different parameters, or change in number of parameters, or at least change in return type. Sorry, not return type. Basically, order would be changed. Whereas overriding, we could say if we are using the subclass or
Mm-hmm.
inheritance pattern, then if the same method is being overridden in the child class, then we can say it as overriding.
Suppose you have overloaded a method in a superclass and overridden the same method in a subclass. If you create an instance of the subclass and invoke the overloaded method, which version gets executed?
Can you just repeat the question? Yeah, I
Uh,
did understand that there is a
Suppose you
overloaded
have
method and
overloaded a method in a superclass, right? And then
yeah,
overridden the same method in a subclass.
yeah.
If you create an instance of the subclass and invoke
Hmm.
the overloaded method, means call the overloaded methods, which versions, I mean,
Right.
which methods gets executed and why?
Uh, I think superclass would be super method of the superclass method will always definitely be executed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it is not existing as part of derived class. I think
Okay.
yeah,
So I think subclass method execute if it is matches a signature to the called method,
right,
right?
yeah. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
correct.
yeah. Correct. So Ramoji, I would like to share one important thing with you. Actually,
Yeah,
we had launched complete interview preparation material, structured step by step by myself, experts, and MNCs interviewers. And the best part is that now no one need to go anywhere else to prepare interviews. Okay, there is a 99% chance
okay.
that an interviewer will ask question from this material. So basically, it contains 16 PDFs with all possible interview question and answer of Java, Spring Framework, Maven, Git, Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Data JPA, Kafka, microservices, Java coding questions, Stream API coding questions, and many more. I have provided the link to get this in below description. And if someone needs this material, plus two real enterprise client projects for reference, plus one-on-one lifetime doubt sessions and referrals to the MNCs, then they should check interview preparation kit. I will provide the link for this as well in the description below. So now moving to our interview. So how does Java handle exception handling? And also please provide a custom exception name.
Yeah, so basically Java user, like maybe if it is a like checked exception, then it can be
Mm-hmm.
handled by using try catch. If it
Mm-hmm.
is an unchecked exception, then we can use REST controller advice to handle these exceptions globally. We can
Mm-hmm.
also create a custom exception using, I mean, extending a class with runtime exception or
Okay.
exception. So
Okay.
yeah, so this is how we can create exception and handle them.
Okay. Okay, so let's say you have a multi-threaded application where multiple threads are updating the same field of an object. How would you
Okay.
ensure that these updates are thread safe?
Uh, Basically, like if we can use synchronized block so that
Okay.
only at a time there is only one thread can modify that piece of
Mm-hmm.
code so that we can ensure thread safety.
Cannot we use atomic integer, something like that?
Uh, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think atomic can also be used, but I haven't worked on that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, Ramoji, let's say you are tasked with reducing memory usage in a Java application. What strategies would you use
okay.
to identify and fix memory leaks?
Uh, Okay, so basically one step which I could do is to check
Mm-hmm.
if there are multiple string manipulation operators.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Mm-hmm.
try to check if we are using string buffer or string builder because
Okay.
it is not immutable. Basically, by default, string is immutable. So whenever we try to
Mm-hmm.
modify, it
Mm-hmm.
creates a new object. So
Okay.
that thing I could do, and maybe I would try to check, try to call a garbage collector, maybe
Mm-hmm.
intermittently to clear
Okay.
these objects.
Mm. Do you know about some tools for utilizing memory and uh, fixing memory leaks?
Uh, no, no idea.
Have you heard about Visual VM JProfiler?
Visual VM, I think I heard, but I'm not aware.
Okay, okay. Uh, okay. So can you explain the concept of Stream API with example?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, Stream APIs, I would say this is a like parallel functions executed one after
Mm-hmm.
another, so that basically they used to reduce the
Mm-hmm.
like number of lines of the code. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
basically that is what we use Stream, and maybe I would say this are generally used in collaboration with collections mostly, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so this is what I would say
Okay.
about Streams.
Okay. Have you used Predicate?
Yes, I have used predicate. So basically, it
Mm-hmm.
is used to check if the value returns a boolean. It returns a boolean value based on
Mm-hmm.
the input.
Okay. And have you used grouping by, and partitioning by?
Uh, Partitioning by I did use, but group by I haven't.
So
Group by
what
I haven't used so far.
is the role of
Yeah.
this partitioning by?
Basically, this separates. Let's say if you want to separate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if we have a list of numbers, and if you want to separate even numbers and odd numbers, then we can use this partitioning
Mm-hmm.
by the
Okay.
stream method that we can use.
Can you give an example like uh, what can we do? Like give an input and also the output after partitioning.
Yeah, so basically, let's say maybe, yeah. So as I said, right? Let's say we have a list of numbers. So if
Mm-hmm.
we apply stream dot like maybe list dot stream dot partitioning
Mm-hmm.
by x percentile by 2 equal to 0, then
Mm-hmm.
basically like since the condition evaluates true or false, we
Mm-hmm.
do get a result in the form of map where
Mm-hmm.
key true maybe gives the values of list of even numbers, and false
Mm-hmm.
would give the list of I mean like odd numbers.
Mm. Okay, got it. Can you explain the changes to the Java concurrency model introduced in Java 8?
Concurrency model. Uh, no, sorry, I cannot recall it right now.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
uh, I
Okay.
think there is a concept
Mm.
of executor service something, so we can like yeah, but I don't think it's related to
There is
concurrency. But
a
yeah,
concept of some parallel operations, streams. Have
okay,
you
is
heard
it
about fork,
parallel
join pool?
strings? Okay, yeah, I have definitely heard it, but
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have
It's
very
fine.
less idea.
It's fine. Uh, what's the purpose of REST controller and request mapping annotation?
REST controller, we generally use it combination of controller as well as a request body. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, without this request body, we generally return a view that is generally used in MVC projects.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas REST controller is
REST
a combination
controller.
of this, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
basically provide the data in
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we basically provide the data and what to be returned from the HTTP method as well.
Okay. Okay. Uh, how can you customize the default server port in Spring Boot application?
Server port. Yeah, we can use application or properties or YAML file to do
Okay.
this, and maybe
What's the default one?
server dot port is equal to
Mm,
8080 is the default port
8080.
used in Spring Boot application.
Okay. Can you explain the mechanism behind Spring Boot's auto configuration?
Uh, exactly. I maybe like yeah. As soon as we define a dependency, right? So basically,
Mm-hmm.
this check what are all the beans that has to be created.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe as an example, I would say if we have added Spring Boot
Mm-hmm.
started data JPA, then
Mm-hmm.
it automatically injects data source bean as part of Spring Boot application
Mm-hmm.
auto configuration. Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, it reduces the like configuration setup of a developer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, how does Spring Boot support internationalization in microservices?
Sorry, I have never worked on internationalization, but
It's
yeah, I
fine.
think there are properties for that.
Okay. Okay. So let's say you need to create a REST API in Spring Boot that retrieves user data from a database. So explain how you would structure the application layers and which annotations you would use.
Yeah. So basically, REST controller is generally used for the beginning of controller method, and I
Mm-hmm.
would use like let's say we want to get the data, right? So basically, I would
Mm-hmm.
use get mapping method to get mapping in the REST controller class,
Mm-hmm.
which basically sends the data to a service layer where we
Mm-hmm.
write the business logic, and
Mm-hmm.
within the service layer we invoke a repository class which will be annotated at the rate repository annotation.
Mm-hmm.
So there we this is how we can get the data from fetch the data from DB.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's say you have to configure a Spring Boot application to support different environments like dev, testing, and prod. How would you manage the application properties for each environments?
Yeah. Okay, so basically we can use the concept of profiling here. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say we want to use dev profile, then we can application dot dev hyphen dev dot properties would be used to
Mm-hmm.
configure all the configuration for dev environment. Similarly, for
Mm-hmm.
prod, we can use the same application prod dot
Mm-hmm.
properties. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and by default application dot properties, we can mention string
Mm-hmm.
dot profiles dot active is equal to which environment that we want to basically use as part of project.
Okay. Okay. Can you explain dependency injection and its types? And its types?
Uh, okay. Dependence injection is basically like we like uh, yeah basically it is like auto injecting the dependencies rather
Mm-hmm.
than you the developer creating a beans for it. So Spring Boot automatically takes care of it, and
Okay.
this can be done by using auto wired
Mm-hmm.
annotation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Auto add annotation. Okay. How does Spring handle bean life cycle?
Life cycle, like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so basically when we start the Spring Boot application, Spring
Mm-hmm.
container would start this actually
Mm-hmm.
check what are all the classes annotated with at the @. Then
Mm-hmm.
these beans would get created, and let's say
Okay.
if we are using these beans in any part of it, then they will be injected into some other
Mm-hmm.
classes, and
Mm-hmm.
just before the close of these like ending
Mm-hmm.
this project, all these beans will be like destroyed, and
Okay.
yeah, the project gets used.
Okay. How would you implement custom scope in Spring Beans?
Custom scope, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can use of condition on bean annotation on condition on property. So basically, whenever we want to like
So how can we
if
add
v has two particular
scope by
values,
using these annotations?
uh, basically at the rate condition on property can be used on top of like where we want to implement the thing, right? Basically, yeah, using those annotations we can.
Okay, okay. Describe a scenario where you would use a bean factory over application context.
Uh,
Tell me a
sorry,
scenario.
not a,
Okay. So
okay.
you have to use bean factory for lightweight applications where we have minimal infrastructure support needed. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah. Moving
Okay.
ahead, can you explain the concept of repositories in Spring Data JPA?
Uh, repository. Is it? Do you mean by repository annotation?
No, no, concept of repositories. Yeah, you can tell about repository annotation, repository file,
Yeah.
like all the thing surrounds with repositories.
Yeah, basically, like let's say this basically simplifies the DB operations. So rather than
Mm-hmm.
we manually write a query, we can use at the
Mm-hmm.
rate repository annotation. Then Spring automatically, like based on the three parameters that we pass, this
Mm-hmm.
automatically generates a query and gives us a result.
Okay, okay. How do you perform pagination and sorting in
Yeah.
Spring Data?
Sure, sure. So basically, this can also be done by using, like at the time of using Spring Data's API, we can pass
Mm-hmm.
pageable as part of our parameters to the
Mm-hmm.
repository.
Mm-hmm.
So this paging, like we can also, this pageable basically sends data like how many
Mm-hmm.
number of records that we want to pass, like show as part of a single page and
Mm-hmm.
total number of, like, yeah. So by passing this pageable to the parameters of a repository, we can
Okay,
like do this.
okay, okay. So, how does Spring Boot Data JPA handle complex transaction and rollback scenarios?
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we can use at the rate transactional
Mm-hmm.
annotation. So this
Mm-hmm.
basically, if there is any failure that happens as part
Mm-hmm.
of this application while running,
Mm-hmm.
it will
Mm-hmm.
automatically roll back this transaction, anything that happened as part of that
Okay,
method.
okay. Mm, okay. Let's say you need to improve the performance of a Spring application, Spring Data JPA specifically the Spring Data JPA application that is currently experiencing slow query time. So, what strategies would you consider?
Okay, slow timeline. So basically, I would first see if there is indexing performed or not. So
Mm-hmm.
if not, then I would implement indexing. And
Mm-hmm.
secondly, I could also use caching
Mm-hmm.
mechanism. So basically, every time we are not required to fetch the data from DB. And
Okay.
but there is we should also ensure that this cache get updated based on time by
Mm-hmm.
using cache evict, sorry, put and evict
Mm-hmm.
annotations. Yeah.
Okay. How do you clone a repository
Repository like
from,
project.
yeah, yeah, GitLab or GitHub,
Yeah,
wherever
yeah,
it
yeah.
is?
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we use git clone method to be then the path of this repository. So basically to clone the project.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me the difference between Git rebase and Git merge?
Uh, Merge basically like combines two or more branches, but
Hmm.
rebase I think it maintains some track. Not sure on the rebase. Yeah.
Okay, okay. How do you resolve merge conflicts?
Yeah, so basically, at the time of taking pull or push request,
Mm-hmm.
basically, since we use an IDE, it auto recommends like
Mm-hmm.
there is a conflict. Then based on
Mm-hmm.
that, we choose which part of the code has to be taken from these two from the branches.
Okay, okay, okay. Uh, let's say you are working on a feature in a new branch and realize you need changes that another team member is working on in a different branch. So describe how
Okay.
you would integrate these changes into your branch.
Yeah. So basically, I would start taking the pull request of that particular branch
Mm-hmm.
and check if there are any merge conflicts with that. If
Mm-hmm.
in case of any, I would try to resolve them by checking like manually by choosing which code to be picked. Yes,
Mhm.
so this is how I think can be done.
Okay. Let's say after making several commits, you realize that you made a
Mhm.
mistake in one of the earlier commits. So explain how
Okay.
you correct this mistake.
Uh, Okay, so like since the code is not pushed, maybe I could revert back to the old commit by using cherry lock. I'm not sure about the exact name. I think there
Mhm.
is something called cherry lock, so that we can come back to the older commits and make changes to that.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me what's the purpose of uh, pom.xml file in Maven project?
Yeah. So basically, it is where we define all our dependencies
Mm-hmm.
and anything. Let's say if you want to
Mm-hmm.
make some configurations, I
Mm-hmm.
haven't used specially, but if you want to make any configurations like specific actions to be
Mm-hmm.
performed at the start, then this can we can also use this form.xml file.
Okay. What's the Maven build life cycle?
Uh, yeah, sorry, I'm not aware of that, but I think whenever we start the project, it basically looks for compile the program, check if there
Compile,
like if
test,
sorry,
package,
yeah,
install,
compile, yes, yeah.
deploy.
So yeah, basically first it check if there is any all the packaging is correct or structure
Mm-hmm.
is correct, then it compiles the test. Then if there are any integration tests, it performs that
Mm-hmm.
and deploy the application.
Okay. Okay. How would you manage multi-module Maven projects and their dependencies?
Uh, like basically we can create a main module, so in
Mm-hmm.
that we can depend like mention
Mm-hmm.
what are all the projects that we are using as part of module. We
Mm-hmm.
need to mention the sub module names as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is how we can maintain multi-module project.
Okay. Uh, can you explain how you would optimize Maven build speeds for large projects?
mm,
Have you heard about
Sorry,
incremental builds, parallel builds?
uh, like maybe I think I did heard long time back, but I cannot recollect anything right now.
Okay, okay, no issues. Uh, what are the, okay, moving ahead, what are the key benefits of using microservice architecture over monolithic?
Okay, so basically, first thing is automatically. First thing which I would say is like
Mm-hmm.
auto scaling. So let's say whenever we want to scale an application, if it is a
Mm-hmm.
monolithic, then entire application has to be scaled up. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
in terms of microservices, we can just scale what are the instances that is being
Mm-hmm.
used the most. So as per the load, this can be done. So that is the first and major. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Microservice architecture is the best one.
Like we cannot say that microservice is the best, but it
Mm-hmm.
actually depends on the application. So basically, if it is a minor application, then monolithic is
Mm-hmm.
also still fine. But
Mm-hmm.
and to be frank, like monolithic is not if it is a smaller application, then it's
Mm-hmm.
better to go with monolithic only rather
Mm-hmm.
than going with microservices, as it takes lot of computation, not computation, as
Mm-hmm.
it is difficult to manage multiple services.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Uh, what strategies would you use to implement database transactions across multiple microservices?
Database transitions. Maybe within a service, I think we can use flyway migration, but
Can
within
we use
across.
Saga pattern here?
Right. Yeah, basically it is used to maintain consistency, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
wrong, right, across a microservice. So basically, Saga comes with like compensation transaction. So if anything
Mm-hmm.
goes wrong, then
Mm-hmm.
basically it has a compensating action for the same thing. So it
Mm-hmm.
automatically roll back the changes in all the services.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Uh, okay, moving ahead. Uh, let's say you are designing a microservice architecture and need to ensure that service failures do not affect the entire system. What
Okay.
strategies would you implement?
Right. So for this, we can use circuit breaker
Mm-hmm.
resilience pattern, so that if there is any failure, then we can also try, like we can use some we can set some properties so that if it is failing more than the set threshold limit,
Mm-hmm.
then that would move to the half open and open state, so that only
Mm-hmm.
certain number of requests will be allowed to call that particular request.
Okay. Okay. How would you handle transaction management across multiple microservices?
Uh, I think yeah, I think we can use Saga pattern for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, basically, as we discussed, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, we
like in
discuss.
case of any failures, we it basically revert the things back.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Uh, okay. So moving ahead, now I will give you one coding question. You
Okay.
have to share your screen and open any editor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So the question is, you have to write a Java program by using a Stream API, and you have to return the sum of odd indices numbers. You are given a list, and you have to return the sum of odd indices numbers.
Uh, Odd indices. Okay. Got it.
Mm, means 1, 3, 5.
Okay. Declaring list of integers. Okay. I think we can make use of lambda functions here
Mm-hmm.
to basically perform that thing.
Okay. Yes, yes. Go ahead.
But if it is just with streams, maybe I think I'm not exactly sure, but let me just try if that
Mm-hmm.
would work. I think we can use something called some concept called index here, but not sure exactly.
Okay. So I'm just giving
Sorry,
you a
I
hint.
think I'm
First, we have
missing
to use
this
filter.
particular term to be used so that we
Okay.
can pick based
So
on the index.
giving you hints. First, we need to do filter for the indices, odd indices. Then we have to map I, I mean, the new indices data, and then we can use directly dot sum. Can we do something like that?
We need a sum, right?
Hmm? Then first
Hello?
filter, then map, then sum.
Sorry.
So I'm saying, no, I think you can try this code after this mock interview. Okay.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have almost done. You're almost right. Your approach is almost right. But yeah, try after this interview. Just now, I share your screen. I will ask,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, few more
sure.
questions.
Yes, I
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, have you used? I mean, uh, do you, like you are already aware, we can use repository annotation in repository file and service annotation in a service file, right? But
Yeah.
can we exchange this? I mean, can we use repository on service file and service annotation on repository files?
Yes, we can interchange, but
Mm.
basically it would not lead to any error. So basically, the purpose of having them is to provide
Mm-hmm.
meta information of that particular class. So that,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. And do you know about uh, auth token?
Uh, yes, basically, like we used a JWT token
Mm-hmm.
for this security implementation.
Okay.
So whenever you, yeah,
What's the auth signature? What auth token contain?
like I think it contains which type of like signature that you want to like encryption type that
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to use.
Let's say we have
Basically, I think we
encrypted
used
our auth token. So
H2.
what would we get
Like
in?
basically we get a like not sure about if in terms of JWT token, it is
Mm-hmm.
basically consists of use like total three parts: payload, header
Mm-hmm.
information, and signature. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. What's the difference between returning a response from API by response entity and by simple object?
Response entity, we can basically like also provide the HTTP status,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in the body it is like just returning the like body of response body basically.
Okay, okay. Can we return XML format through our
Yes,
REST
we can
APIs?
do. Yes, we can do. Basically, JSON is the preferred thing, but we can
Mhm.
also use XML.
And do we have
We
other
can
formats
use
as well, other than this JSON and XML?
these are the widely used formats in RESTful
Mm-hmm.
APIs, but I
Okay.
think there are other formats as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, what's the starter dependencies like Spring Boot
Okay.
starter web, starter test, and this kind of.
So basically, these are the set of dependencies that
Mm-hmm.
can be injected as part
Mm-hmm.
of that particular dependency, so that it reduces the time for the developer to
Mm-hmm.
like focus more on the development rather than
Okay.
configuration. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what's a parent starter? Like we have one parent starter annotation. You remember?
Both starter, I think it is a
Uh-huh.
parent of all these starter.
Okay. Okay. How do you test your methods by using JUnit test cases?
Yeah, so we use JUnit 5 and Mockito for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, for like you, as part of unit testing, we can like check if individual functions are working fine or not. So
Mm-hmm.
we use Mockito to actually mock the dependencies that are like not like from the other classes or
Mm-hmm.
services, and inject them into the this method so
Okay.
that we can perform testing.
How would you test async method?
Async. So far, I haven't tested it, but I think
Mhm.
we can
Have
use
you got
mock.
async
Yes,
with
uh,
annotation?
yeah, I did. So
Okay, what's the
basically, it is used
purpose?
to
Mhm.
like it is used to like run the task in like if we do not want to get a response,
Mhm.
and if that can be done in background, then we can use at the rate async on a method so that
Uh,
they will be executed.
okay, okay. What's the logging visualizing tools you guys are using?
Uh, like uh, I haven't used, but as part of a project, we
Mhm.
use like Prometheus, all this stuff. So
Okay.
not just Prometheus,
So don't you
Grafana, all
write
this.
queries for checking logs and all, visualize logs and all?
No, like we just use SLF4J to write the logs, but there were no queries
So
that
why
I
did you
used.
guys exclude logback, a default logging mechanism of Spring Boot application?
Okay, I think SLF4J provides more features than
Mm-hmm.
that. I think that is the reason. But
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. So yeah, Ramoji, it's done from my end.